First of all, thank you for the invitation to be a part of this conference. I'm not the biggest esports knower, gamer or whatever, but we definitely have a place in this industry with Sofascore as a company. Thank you also for introducing me to this public. You saved me like 1.5 minutes of my presentation. Yeah, so at Sofascore, we really are thinking ahead of time, at least we think we do, with the approach that we want to have and what we want to include as a next step into our product. It's a never stopping, ongoing cycle of thinking what the next step will be, and esports is definitely something that has been a part of us for the last couple of years. What I will be talking about today and sharing hopefully some good knowledge with everybody here is basically summarized in the following slide. A little bit about us, and I would kindly ask of all the good game people, if anybody does not have their Sofascore app already downloaded, please don't let them leave without that. Otherwise, my job here isn't done and I cannot return to the company. Just a couple of notes on who we are, what we do, what our next steps involving not only esports is. Then a bit about esports, which I think, to be honest, all of you here know much more than me, so that's going to be more of a placeholder, but an important intro for everything behind that. Data as one of our most important things that we include in everything that we do on a daily basis. One of the main things why I'm here today with you, the storytelling part, to try to explain how we use our approach to attract all the people who are interested in esports as one of the biggest industries, I would even be brave enough to say, in the last decade, and it's continuing with its growth. And the last part is another product that we have, which is also already a part of Sofascore as a company, and in which we also have included esports as one of our sports that we feature on our app, on our website, and all of our platforms. To summarize what we are a sports tech platform. That's about it. There are other competitors out there as well. I'm not going to name them, not going to give them some free promotion, of course. What does differentiate us from them is our approach. We started as a live score app, so our main focus at the moment when we started was to provide the statistics, the results of all the sports that we follow as fast as possible. That was the only thing that was our focus. Time after time, we were thinking about what we want to do different in comparison to other live sports applications, and the answer to that was a much more detailed approach to go beyond just featuring live score things. This is just a summary of some details that we try to include in as much as sports as possible on our platforms. But there will be also another part especially dedicated to esports, where we will summarize how our approach was different from each sport to each sport, including all the esport games that we have included on our app at the moment. But this is definitely something that has been proven in the last couple of years when we receive feedback from our users, is why they love Sofascore that much. These are one of the main things. We do a lot more than just provide basic results to our consumers. We dive deep into statistics. We adapt from sport to sport, listen to our consumers, what they want to hear, what they want to see, and how we can help them, providing them the best possible experience. Esports, this is the placeholder slide that I mentioned before. I hope these numbers are good. I hope these numbers are up to date. Somebody here from the public will definitely confirm this to me. Why this is important to us is basically the next question that I have, is because of this. We want to be a platform where we take in consideration every single element that a sport has to provide to their audience. Every game, every team, every player, every win. Even every single view from our users is very important to us, and that's one of our philosophies that we have at the company on how we want to include certain things. How is this achieved is going back to a thing that I mentioned before, is the data that we have and we use. We have 3 different methods of collecting data. One is via big data providers such as Opta, Sportradar. For esports, it's Panda. Maybe somebody here knows Panda as a company who provides us all the data streams via their API, which we include into our product. But data is basically the ground on which we built everything inside our product. And if it wasn't for data, we wouldn't have anything to provide to you guys. When I was thinking about this presentation, I was considering what the right approach would be, as the name of my presentation includes storytelling. The debate in my mind was more related to whether it's more important to show you first the storytelling part and then the results that we achieved with this, or vice versa. I decided to go with a more orthodox approach, with first providing the data and the results that we have with esports, and then to show what exactly we did to achieve these results. We are more than proud to say that we are current market leaders when it comes to esports. We are the app who covers not only the widest range of different esports, but also we go most in depth when it comes to all the information that we provide to our users. When it comes to breaking this down to numbers, I only included a couple of the most important data, because otherwise we would sit here for 2 days and I can showcase like millions and millions of data streams to you guys and statistics and numbers which we go through every single day. But for example, when we look at the total numbers from when we started including esports into our app, these are the main games that we feature: League of Legends, Counter-Strike, and Dota. Under other, we have FIFA, NBA, and some other sports that we feature on a lower level. And this will be very important for the last part of my presentation. These numbers, when we look at the complete volume that we have currently at Sofascore, for example, for the last couple of months, we are achieving 25 million monthly active users across all our platforms. When you sum this up, you will see that we almost have close to 1 million users only dedicated to esports. So that's quite a huge number when it comes to sports. That's, when we completely honest, compare it to other more traditional sports, it's still on the uprise. It doesn't have the numbers when you compare it to football, when you compare it to basketball, when you look at the number of fans. We are very proud of what we achieved with our product, looking at the total number of users. And this is also closely related to a stat that we are following also when we try to evaluate the quality of the users that we have. We base this more or less on the event openings. An event is a match, let's call it that way. So every time one user opens to see one match in more details, we track that. And with these numbers, we can definitely confirm that the interest of the users that we have across our platforms is quite high. The next one is also a breakdown of the countries where we are mostly followed with esports data in our app. And this is also quite close related in general with Sofascore statistics. So our key markets are Brazil as number 1, USA as number 2. Then we have some discrepancies with this because normally we have Italy and UK in the top 5. But this is also closely related to some countries which are heavily invested in esports as an industry. So this is another confirmation to us that all the things, the effort that we put into including esports and the consumer experience that we provided to our users is on a good track, and that we have proof of concept that we should focus even more to esports in the future. When you connect that also previously with the event openings and the average time that they spent in our application and on our website, it's quite some time. I mean, I know some games, when you look at LOL or Counter-Strike, they can last up to a couple of hours. And when you compare it with this, it's quite a good number, where you can see definitely that they are using our application as like a second screen to, while they are watching live streams, or if they're not available to watch the games live, they are using our app to get the information that they need. And one last data overview is, it's in the top 10. Esports at the moment on a monthly basis, these are the results from last week, for example. The number of event openings and unique users. Week after week, we see esports being in the top 10. Every year, they're going up on the scale, so we wouldn't be surprised if in the next couple of years they come close to the top 5. It will also depend on us, of course, depending on how much more features we will develop, how much more games we will include in what we have now already. But it's definitely, again, a clear pathway on what we are doing. It's going in the good way, and that esports is here definitely to stay. Now we come to the storytelling part. Like I said before, I did it vice versa, just to show you first the numbers of what we achieved, and now I'll do my best to explain how we achieved this. It's nothing complicated, quite simple. You just have to listen to your users, you have to know your audience, and you have to see if you can adapt as best as possible to the audience which has the most interest in what you are providing. When we come to esports, I think, although I am a bit older of age, somebody will say I'm a millennial, somebody will say I'm a boomer, depends on who I'm talking to. I think we can all agree that the Gen Z generation is highly in focus in almost everything that we do nowadays. And when it comes to stats on how they are using everything that they're doing, we saw a trend in the last couple of years that the percentage of second screening, so using another device or another screen while they're consuming something primarily, went quite high. When it comes to Gen Z, 94%. This is one of our main reasons why a couple of years ago we decided to also include esports into our product. Besides our main goal of becoming the leading sports tech platform, which then also includes having the most amount of sports, having the widest range of sports, to go most in depth. This is just one push towards us going more into esports. How we did that, I'm just going to show you now a short breakdown of each of the main games that we feature. And whoever is playing these games will definitely be aware of what I'm talking about. For example, with Counter-Strike, we analyzed what the users are mostly focused on, what Panda can provide us as our data provider, and we decided to include all of these elements into the app. We decided to filter what we consider the most important things for them, that they can get as much as possible information, but also that it's filtered out from everything in total that they can get, to have us always focus on not only quantity but also on quality. When it comes to Dota, it's a bit of different layout, and then we of course also have League of Legends. So every game is being analyzed from our side, from our product owners. We talk a lot also with the community, the people from the esports community, to listen to them, what they consider important, what they consider that is a must-have to be included in our platforms. And we of course do our best to communicate this towards Panda, because without their data we cannot adapt that to include it in our platforms. How that looks, quite simple, a couple of screenshots from our application. This is some screenshots from Counter-Strike, where we see the basic layout of the teams that are playing, the current results, which round it is, and a little bit more detailed approach on that round, how the flow of the round, we call it in football, that's called attack momentum. We can call it the same for esports and in Counter-Strike, how which round ended, depending on the if they planted the bomb, if they defused it, or whatever. And then also we provide quite a detailed layout of the team members, the players, their nicknames, their pictures, their current stats, and there's also an element of gamification included. Up to 30 minutes before the game starts, you can vote to see who will win. Something that is not included into esports yet, but will be in the near future, is we're going to add another layer of gamification to this, where there will be like a sort of leaderboard to see who picked which winner and who had the best prediction rate on a tournament basis, on a yearly basis. And we're also considering maybe including the famous Pick'em game into our app as another way of entertaining our users. And of course, the goal for us to keep them in our application as long as possible. Next in line, we have all the details regarding the actual match, when it starts, which division level it is, even if we have the information, the total prize money, up to basically the information where you can also view the match live with links included to Twitch as the main platform for the live streaming of the tournaments such as these. And on the right side, you can also see a comparison of head-to-head. So from all the past tournaments where these teams played against each other, you can see how the games went. If you click on one of the games, then it goes back to the main screen, showing you the full details of those matches that were played. How this looks, this is the view that we have inside our app. How it looks on the website is something like this, but it's a bit blurred. Out. The main thing here that I want to emphasize is, of course, the score. Whoever doesn't see it, this is our game that we played in this year's Good Game event in Zagreb. We won at least one game. We're very proud of that, of course. So yeah, on the website, basically the same information, just with a complete different layout. I mean, I think everybody here is quite known to the fact that you have to adapt the layouts of everything that you do depending on the platform which you use to consume all the data. So of course, we did that as well with our website. The ratio between website versus app, how people are using it, is quite interesting. When you look at Gen Z as one of our main target audiences, you would assume that the app is the main channel in which they use esports as a sport that they will follow in Sofascore, but it's not. Website is actually 70% on how they consume esports data via Sofascore, and only 30% in the app. We'll see how we can optimize that. Of course, our goal is to drive as much as possible people to the application. But yeah, we'll see how far we can go with that. One thing that I mentioned before in the overview of my presentation today is another application which we call Sofascore Editor. This is a project that came to life the last 2 years, almost parallel from the time when we decided to add esports in our application. It basically allows you to become the storyteller. We know that there are certain tournaments which Panda, as the biggest data provider for esports, does not cover. We know there are tournaments such as the aforementioned Good Game B2B competition, local tournaments in certain neighborhoods, which are not covered by the big data guys because, yeah, at the moment they don't have any interest or they don't have the way of including that data into their streams. That's why we, in general, for sports, created an app called Sofascore Editor, which allows you to be the storyteller. Just a short animation without any sound. Just to confirm again what our goal with Editor is, we want to include everybody around the world to also be the storyteller for all the things that they consider important. If there's the local tournament being played in FIFA, no problem. Download the Editor app, apply to be one of our editor representatives, and you will be able to create the tournament for your for the tournament inside Editor. You will be able to input all the teams playing, all the players playing, all the data that is provided by that game itself. This tool allows you to do that. The fun part of it is everything that you input into the Editor is automatically displayed in our main Sofascore app, which then gives you the whole world as an audience, and basically Editor becomes also a marketing platform for you with the aforementioned 25 million active users, maybe looking at your tournament and starting to pay more attention of what you are doing. It's still an app that is work in progress. We are working on that on the same pace as we do with our main app, because we're always seeing on what we can improve, but it already has been shown as also a success story for esports. FIFA and NBA as games are only being covered via this editor app, and when you look at the stats, we are quite happy with the volume of events that are being implemented in that way. But of course, the potential worldwide is still here, and it's also our job to promote this part of our story and to show the people what they can also do, how they can become the same storytellers that we are with our main app, but from their perspective and with their own goals set in mind. That's about it. Greetings from the whole gaming squad from Sofascore, from, again, this year's Good Game event, which was a huge success. We will continue to support not only with the business that we do, the esports industry, but with these activities as well, because yeah, why not play around when you can? It's not only about business every day, right?
Great. Do you have, guys, any questions maybe for Branimir? Before we conclude his keynote. Oh, there it is. From Nicola, nonetheless.
Now, while we have you on the stand,
Shoot.
Can you tell me in front of everyone? I'm just kidding, nothing like that. But in terms of the popularity of esports in your app, do you have any correlation in between the popularity of the categories? Meaning, I would say that esports is just a category next to football or basketball. Let's call it like that. Is it affected by your promotion of esports within the app? Meaning that people maybe are not aware that esports is even within an app of Sofascore, or are you relying purely on people's interest to look for esports within the app by themselves, and that's how you gauge how popular it is?
Both. Straightforward, we are not investing into esports when it comes to marketing and promotion, whether it's inside the app or outside, as much as effort in comparison to other sports. We have to know that we started as an app which had mainly their focus on football as the main sport, I would say globally, although I know you won't like that answer. We do use some elements inside our app to promote. So we have certain aspects when you open up our home screen, we call it buzzer tiles, where we include the main tournaments that are going on in a live feed, let's call it that way. It's like a square button, which includes information about the game that's being played, the current score, and if you click on that button, it then leads you to the main tournament page where you can consume then all the other information that you want. And also depending on the importance and of the actual tournament, we also launch occasionally some push notification campaigns for all the people who follow esports inside of Sofascore. We then inform them of the start of a big tournament or when the final game is being played, etc. So that's another way where we try to engage the already active users inside our app when we have something important that we want to single out as additional information. There are plans on how we want to expand this, but that's a story for itself, which I cannot share at this moment. It's quite a long roadmap. We will be starting on planning for 2025 in August, and esports is on the list where we want to see what other opportunities there are on the table to expand the volume of users inside our app, and of course also to keep the engagement level on a very high level.
Perfect. Any more questions for Branimir? I actually had one if no one has. So I noticed on one of the slides where you showed the unique users comparing to the number of times they open the app. Yeah. So I noticed tennis because, well, obviously, I used to play tennis. So I noticed that there is a much greater amount of openings in that category comparing to other sports, comparing to percentage in other sports. Do you see some difference in the behavior of your users depending on sport that they follow? Is there some insights that you can give us?
Yeah, I mean, we separate three types of people that use our product. One are the hardcore fans, which are very heavily invested when we're talking about tennis. Probably they love one certain player, which they follow from tournament to tournament, and they are very closely connected to that certain player. Then we have the enthusiasts, which occasionally open some sports, depending on the interest that they have at that moment, whether they have some additional passion that we are not aware of. And then we have the third audience, which are the one who are heavily invested into betting. Tennis is quite a popular sport in the betting world, so I definitely think that's also one big part of this chart right now, because we are aware Roland Garros is now being played at the moment, one of the 4 Grand Slams. What we also always see, tennis and basketball, which is interesting, they switch places quite a lot. Depending on what is currently being played. Whether it's the NBA Finals, then basketball will jump up to number 2. If it's during a Grand Slam, then tennis will jump up. So we are following all of that, and based on all those data, on all that data that we have, that's where we decide on how much to invest in certain things, what more to develop, et cetera, et cetera.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay.
Any more questions? Oh, there's a question. I just wanted to start with the outro and then,
Thanks. So my question to you is, do you have like a personalized feed? So let's say I'm creating a new account on your app. Do you have like a profiling of users where I can put I'm interested in esports, and then my feed is mostly esports and whatever I pick next? And do you think that would like help majorly to increase esports on your app?
Did you receive this information from somebody inside the company, or that's a feature actually that we're developing at the moment. When you download the app now, you can create your profile with basic information. You can follow a certain club, you can follow a certain player, you can follow a certain competition, and based on that, we will decide to provide you more information on the buzzer tiles with the push notifications and some simple elements that we have already. We are currently developing an upgrade to that story, where we want to include a more personalized approach depending on the input that we received from you, but also using AI to track how you use the app. And based on that, we will also provide you some additional information based on how you behave during the usage. So I can't say when this will be released, but let's say sometime this year.
Oh, okay, that perfectly sums it up. Thanks.